Okay, we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, and welcome to this week's explosive episode of Primetime Gaming. I'm your host, Mr. Boomstick XL, and if you are an Xbox fan, this is the show that you have been waiting for. All of the topics being discussed are some of the hottest gaming news in the business. So strap in, get ready for a full 2 hours that's going to fill your Monday evening. Now, before I introduce the outstanding and ultra talented panel, I'm here to talk about our very special guest. And you know him as Mr. Xbox himself. His status quo is so strong, he rubs elbows with the biggest names on Team Xbox. He's a diehard gamer with ties to the OG classics. Emerald green flows through his veins, giving him green blood like the Incredible Hulk. He's a Twitter troll stomper where he uses hashtag facts and a panel member of the incredible RDX podcast. Please welcome back to the show, Xcloud game changer, Tim Dog.
How you doing? Happy to be here. Great show. Big week. A lot of stuff to talk about. Great to be here, and we're gonna have a lot of stuff to talk about. And happy to be here. I'm just happy to see you guys doing your thing over here, and ready to go. We're going to talk a lot about Xbox today. I'll tell you that much.
Well, we have a lot to talk about, and who better to have on the panel than Mr. Xbox himself? So thanks so much for taking the time to hang out with us this evening. So let's continue on with the introductions. Next, we have a gamer whose passion for gameplay over story sets him apart from the rest of the pack. He's an 80s kid who knows a thing or two about pulp culture. He's a Star Wars fan who has an understanding to the reasoning behind the dreaded Empire, but started one of his own known as the Sesh Empire. He is a community member not afraid to ruffle someone's feathers and talks lots of facts while doing stomping on the interwebs. Please welcome So Shady.
Hey, thanks, Boom, and you got that right. I'm here to bring law and order to the gaming community, even if I have to lay a couple boots on some necks while I'm at it. I'm just kidding. I'm all about the good times here, man. I'm happy to be here. We got some great topics lined up. Tim Dog, glad to have you on the show, my man. Let's get into it.
Well, listen, great to have you as always, dude. You always bring the passion, and we definitely appreciate that. Next, we have a gamer whose undying skills in Destiny have no match and no limit. He's our inside man to everything GameStop. He's an incredible father, husband, and one heck of a community member, creator of the amazing Gaming Forte YouTube channel, and an integral part to the Basement Radio Arcade podcast. Please welcome Guardian Forte.
Ah, man, the heavens just opened again. Once again, every Monday I get to hear that, and it never gets old. But another prime time of gaming. We on fire. We had Cognito last week. We got our boy Tim Dog this week. Thanks for coming through, bro. Let's get this started.
Well, listen, it's going to be a great show, and it's going to be a really high-powered Xbox show, of course, if that's your thing. Now, we have last but in no way least, he's a gaming hero who has been patiently awaiting a new Batman game so he could once again save Gotham City. A newcomer to the podcast game with skills of a 20-year veteran, an Xbox enthusiast who bleeds green when you cut him, and the creator of his very own and amazing Mixer channel. Please welcome Cybernox.
Oh, baby, do we have a show today? What's going on, Boom? Awesome intro. As always, glad to be here with the panel. Tim Dog here. You know we're gonna be Xbox heavy, and I can't wait to get to it. What's up, chat? Let's get on with these topics.
Well, listen, thanks for being here as always. This show would not be with what it is without the Cape Crusader. So thank you for being here. I just want to say real quick, thank you to J Dubs, who I'm not sure if is in the chat. As you can see, he has graciously designed a new border for the show. We're going to be doing a few different production things to kind of make it a little bit more professional each and every week that you tune in. And we're going to open up with a big topic. Obviously, Phil Spencer did an interview with Eurogamer, and it has been the hottest thing to come out of XO19. And to be honest with you, there's good reason for it. Now, there are some Xbox gamers, including myself, admittedly, that wanted two big studio acquisitions. And as we know, it didn't happen. But during an interview, Phil Spencer made it perfectly clear that they're not done buying studios. Here's what Phil had to say on the subject. When asked if Microsoft was done buying studios, he simply replied, no. And this is what he had to say. I do think we can sometimes get a little infatuated with putting a bunch of studio logos on a slide that becomes the news. They're not trading cards, they're studios. And we want them to build great games. I love the fact that we're announcing 3 new IPs, 2 from our internal studios. As I look forward, there's not a show that I could look at where we're not going to be announcing new games. And that's important, folks. Just because the breadth of studios we have, it's not really some kind of PR battle about how many new acquisitions we can put on stage, because if we're not building great games, the acquisitions don't matter. Now, the interviewer asks, are you still in the hunt? And this is what Phil Spencer said. Yeah. The great creators out there, there are great creators out there. Our business continues to grow. The company is incredibly supportive of what we're trying to build. Microsoft talks about gaming as key pillar of its consumer interest and strategy. We're getting a ton of support from Satya Nadella, Amy Hood, and the board. We are running a good business today, so we've earned the right to continue to look for new talent. Now, Tim, I have to go to you immediately on this, because a lot of people walked away, the XO19 feeling some up, like me. I gave it a 9. I thought it was an absolutely fantastic show. Some people, they didn't. They wanted those God of War type games, which I believe are coming during E3 or 20, or at least at the at the reveal of the next Xbox console. When you hear Phil telling him that we are in the hunt and we have earned the right to continue to do so, why do people still question that Microsoft is done?
Well, I mean, at this point, you look at people and you see people now switching the narrative, and you saw a lot of that this XO. Now it's not games, and now it's cartoony filler games that are being put in for Game Pass. At this point, I think that those people, they're really losing credibility at this point. Those are the same people that said Game Pass was bad, that Sony wouldn't cave into crossplay, that Sony doesn't need Xcloud. These people have been consistently wrong. You know who they are. It's this a certain group of people that are trying to push narratives that don't like Xbox. But if you look at what's going on right now, and you even look at those comments, it's getting to the point where you can't say that they're not making games. They're hiring like crazy. At this XO show, they showed 3 new IPs, and if you remember, that was a big thing like 2 months ago. Like, they don't have no new IPs. Now you got 3 new IPs. Albeit maybe they're not all AAA. Maybe the rare is AAA. But the fact of the matter is they're producing games. They say they're not done showing. You're going to see a couple more games in the next couple of months. They're stacked, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm with you. I wanted the 2 acquisitions, but I look at what they're doing, and as opposed to what they say, like when Obsidian came to them and they said they wanted to do this passion project, and with Ninja Theory doing the same thing. If they weren't expanding and building games, they would say, no, you have to just make 1 game. We need the people. We can't do that.
Right.
They are actively hiring and expanding all of these studios. It's a good time for an Xbox to be an Xbox fan, and you're really going to start the things ratchet up this 2020. The narrative argument that's going to be against them is probably going to be trying to find a way to find something, but it's going to be very hard to really be critical of what Xbox is doing. They have themselves extremely set up on the software side, hardware side, in my opinion. And I think they're really ready for next gen. They lost this gen, and I think they learned a lot of things, and they're ready to basically get going.
It's funny you should say that, because during the interview, Tim, this interview was massive, and I mean, we could probably spend a full 2 hours of trying to break down everything, but of course we won't do that. One of the particular parts that I thought I want to get your opinion, and of course I'm going to do a round robin and go around the room and get everyone's opinion on it. When Phil Spencer started talking about price and power, the one thing that he had admitted to is the mistakes that were made at the beginning of the generation. He clearly stated that we were $100 more and less powerful, and that cost us. And he knows it. We all know it. But saying it publicly as the head of Xbox, that tells me that they are serious about next generation. And I just want to get your particular opinion on this next statement. Now, we have heard numerous things about both Sony and Microsoft working with AMD. We've heard the exact words is Sony is working with AMD. Okay, so that tells me that they're having meetings in boardrooms, and they're kind of figuring it out. Mark Cerny's a genius. He's going to obviously want to design the PlayStation 5 the best he can. But then on the other side of the coin, you hear that Microsoft is co-engineering. Now, that is a big step-up statement, in my opinion, co-engineering to working with. When you hear that, Tim, does that give you confidence that you honestly believe in your heart of hearts that the Xbox Scarlet will, in fact, be more powerful than the PS5?
Well, just judging from the wording and even from some of the things that Matt Booty has said, and the things that have occurred, and even with Phil's statement, like he says, you're not going to be beaten on price or power, or he alluded to it. They got something going here. Now, whether it's Lockhart's involved, which I think is very likely that could be the case to make a statement like that. I don't know, but I do feel confident that they are going to be the most powerful. I think that they're going to have a powerful SKU, Anaconda, and I do think Lockhart is real. I've heard some mumblings and some pretty good sources behind it that it is indeed still real. It's indeed still going. The reason why it was put down, or said it wasn't happening, 6 months ago or 8 months ago, was simply because they want people guessing. They don't want people confusing the matter.
It's their Trojan horse.
It's their Trojan horse, and even so, even Tom Warren said it. They're being very clever to not show their position, whether it's power, or if there's two SKUs. They're being very clever here, or they're being coy. There's something up. So my answer to the question, yes, I will say that I expect them to be powerful. It might not be much more powerful, but I do think that they're going to have the more powerful SKU. It's going to be very interesting. And I'm also going to say that I do think that there is two consoles, and that's the way they're going to achieve it. They'll have one high end, and then they'll have one, lesser end console that doesn't really have all the bells and whistles as the Anaconda, but it's at a more affordable price range.
Well, I mean, listen, the lesser powerful one could potentially even be just as powerful as the X, maybe even a little bit better because of the processor. So it could logistically be cheaper, but still be better.
Right, 100%.
Very, very interesting. Let me go to Gaming Forte. Obviously we've been going. As a panel, we've been going back and forth. I went out of my way to try and pull the best parts of the article. Forte, let me ask you something. You had a chance to read the article, and in complete Killer Phil, in a way, he says things that appeal to not only the people that are doing the interview, but the people reading the interview, but the gamers that are eventually going to read the interview. He talks from a gamer's perspective. And when you hear, did anything for you personally stand out in the article that was like, okay, this is the man that needs to be in charge?
Yeah, so I already knew a long time ago that this was the case with Phil ever since he started telling everybody the direction he wanted to go with Xbox and the things he wanted to do over the course of the generation to fix the so-called problem Xbox had. And ever since he said that, all that stuff has come to fruition.
Yep.
So I tend to just listen to what Phil says on stuff like that. Now, of course, being gamers, we want to have, it all comes down to the content. It always comes down to the games. And we all know that the last thing on that list was the games. We had to get the studios in order to get to the games. And I understand people's frustration around, not getting the things that they want when it comes to the type of games that they want. But these studios were just purchased over the last 1.5 to 2 years, and it takes time. That's all it really takes at this point. And the fact that Phil Spencer understands that, and he actually reached out and he actually told everybody, he said, I know you guys want to play great games. He plays games. I'm a friend with him on Xbox Live. I see him playing all the time. So he's in that community with us. And the biggest thing is, he's in a position where he doesn't want Xbox to fail, because ultimately that falls down on him, just like it fell down on all the predecessors before him. And he's in a very great situation where he's not being pulled or not being listened to by a person like Terry Myerson that was in front of him before.
Yep.
And he has all of the power because Satya Nadella is there to back everything gaming around Xbox. And listen, man, as much as everybody is, but I will tell you, XO was a good show. I was one of those people that was a little disappointed just because I wanted to see something bigger from Xbox, but that's only because they really can't make Game Pass better for me because it's already an 11. It's nothing they can show for. I mean, yes, you're getting all these great games in Game Pass, and trust me, for a person that does not have it, they are showing you the blueprint on how to have a great service and how to get people into your ecosystem. But at this point, it just comes down to the cat and mouse game of when do we show our big guns. Now, some people will tell you they need to wait till E3 and do it. Some people say they should do it now. And I think that's what Phil Spencer was really harking on. Is like, the things you guys want, they're coming. You just have to be patient with us. He ultimately wants to give everybody what they want, but in the end, he has to do what's right by the developers that's under his studios and make sure that they're ready to show something that's mind-boggling and great for us to be entertained by. So I think it's just like, again, everybody says, why we got to wait to E3, but I think that's going to be the ultimate thing. For me, being a person that loves Game Pass and being a person that has it on PC and everything, I can wait because I'm not tied to just having to have a system and play on my TV. I can play these games at the fidelity I want to. But being an Xbox fan, I want to be able to play these games and have a reason to own the hardware, because ultimately we're console gamers at heart, and I love Xbox. So that's what I'm waiting for, and I think that's what a lot of other people are waiting for. But I'm just going to tell you right now, just give it time, because those games are coming. And guess what? If you get to E3 and you still feel the same way you feel, there is another system out there for you that I will own, just like everybody else that's on this panel, a PlayStation 5, because I don't think we already know what that system has to offer. The one thing that I love the most about this, we really don't know what Microsoft is doing. And that is it's kind of got a mystique to it, because it's been a long time where I felt like they were actually heading in a direction where I felt like it was beneficial. Now I think they're finally hitting their stride, and it's only going to get better over the course of the next 6 to 12 months.
I just want to add, and I continue with your opinion on this. You talked about Phil Spencer making some promises, right? When in your opening to what you talked about, right. And there are some there are some situations that I don't think people give this dude enough credit for. I understand that this was a very Game Pass heavy event, and you know what? That's a good thing, because they're trying to push it. But there are 3 particular things that were announced that not only have never been on an Xbox console in the history of the Xbox as a brand. Kingdom Hearts coming to the Xbox 1.5, 2.5, 2.8 Game Pass. The first trilogy of Yakuza. Dude, that's a big deal. Okay. And then all of those Final Fantasy games. Now they maybe they're not your bag. Maybe they're old games, but they're all coming to Game Pass. And you know what that tells me? That tells me that all of those trips to Japan counted for not only getting some of the older games that we have never had as Xbox fans, but the new seeds that have been planted on games that we're going to be getting that maybe Sony won't be getting or will be getting at the same time. What are your thoughts on that, Forte?
Yeah, and honestly, where you literally just said that was the number one thing that really just crossed my mind. People equate the games where he says we need, like when he was going through the whole promise list of fix the hardware, fix the services, fix the platform, then fix the games by getting the studios. The games in the fixing the studios this is all part of that. It wasn't this glamorous thing where he was like announcing that he was over in Japan doing this and doing that. We were up here like speculating all through that year, like, oh, are they, we got Sega coming to the Xbox studio, coming to the home office, and got these visits, and we were wondering like what was the conversations about, and now you're starting to finally see it. Trust me, Phil Spencer knew that this year was going to be a trying year when it came to just getting the AAA content on a console that people want, because they knew they had to buy the studios in order to facilitate that. But he was looking at it like, okay, we just want to get games on our platform. And number one thing is we want games that our players probably never played before.
Right.
And there's a lot of people out there that have just Xboxes. Not everybody does have a PlayStation 4. It just seems like it, because a lot of us that talk on these podcasts it seems like we're the majority when we're actually the minority. There's that 40, 45, 46 million consoles out there. They all don't have a PlayStation. So this is going to be beneficial to them. And this is part of that whole fix the game problem, because even if it's a game that was old, it's still a game you never played before. Just like when Sony announced at the beginning of the PS4 generation, the reason they were bringing back a lot of their remakes is because of what? We got a lot of people that used to be non-PlayStation 3 fans that want to play these games, like remastering Uncharted, bringing back Last of Us 2, and putting those in. That was the main reason they did it. Now, Microsoft is bringing us franchises we never had on our platform before, and that's pretty much like a pseudo new game to somebody that's never played any of that stuff before. So I think that was a really, really good get, and I was really surprised. And then I know you're going to get to the whole part about Xcloud and stuff. They got Madden coming to Xcloud. How the heck did they get EA to give them something like that on Xcloud? So right then and there, that just opened up the possibilities that if we can get it's the only football franchise in the world, and you're able to get that on your streaming service. What else is in the cards for Microsoft and the different services they got up their sleeve?
Well, I mean, listen, that's a great point. That is a great point. But Shady, I want to go to you on a particular subject, and of course, we're going to be talking about Xbox Game Pass, because obviously, not everybody's made of money, and the service allows for everyone, whether you're rich, you don't have a lot of money, or somewhere in the middle, to be able to enjoy gaming from this particular angle. And during the interview, I read this interview several times because obviously I wanted to prepare for today's show, and obviously there was a lot to take away. But Phil Spencer's response to the head of Sony, Jim Ryan's public dig, in my opinion, at both Xbox and Xbox Game Pass, for that matter. Here's what Jim Ryan had to say, and this is just a small quote, and I'm going to give you Phil Spencer's response, and I want to get your opinion on it, Shady. This is what Jim Ryan had to say. Given how some of our first-party IP is incredibly special and valuable. We just want to treat them with amazing care and respect and have those launches be clean and pure. I thought that was a ridiculous statement.
It's
So
terrible.
Shady Phil Spencer responded in a way that was both professional and insulting. And here's what his response was. Phil Spencer says this: it hasn't in any other form of media been done. I don't think people look at Game of Thrones and say somehow it wasn't quality because it was shipped inside of a subscription. I think most people look at the amount of investment and the quality of execution that happens in TV, at least in the subscriptions, as it's being highly watched. So now, when you hear Phil say that, I mean, listen, I got to be honest with you. I don't know what your opinion is, Shady, and I definitely want to get that. Do you think it was Jim Ryan's public dig with the "we need the pure and clean launch," basically saying that they don't want their major first-party games in a subscription service, that they're too good for this? Is that what you felt? Same as me?
Oh, of course, man. It was typical Sony, in my opinion. That's just the way they speak. Our IP is just so special. It needs to be, retro. We can only sell it at $60. We feel that if we release it in a service, it's dirty, it's cheating, it's doing things wrong. It came off as whining and definitely, aiming towards Microsoft with a little bit of slander, if you will. I would love to see Microsoft be like, because we don't like to have our marketing be a bunch of smoke and mirrors. We don't like to, it's ridiculous. I'm tired of seeing executives act like school children. A lot of this fanboyism and the zealotry, like the crazy shit in the community that no one likes to see, is coming from basically Sony top brass. Look at that commercial at the beginning of the gen. Here's how you share games on PlayStation. It was years after launch. I was still hearing from people that the reason they didn't buy an Xbox is because you can't trade games, because you need to check in to be online every years, literally.
Yeah, it
was insane. And Sony was totally fine throwing shots then and there. To some, that's the best type of advertising. It's dirty. It's getting hardcore. I've never liked it. I never liked it as a kid when Sega used to do it. Sega does what Nintendo don't. So cool with that catchphrase. I mean, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan at all. Crash Bandicoot mascot being outside of the Nintendo headquarters, calling out Mario. I mean, when I was 13, 14, I snickered at the commercial, but I wasn't a fan. That kind of shit creates fanboys. It does. I'm not a fan of it. Just advertise your damn product and put it out. Simple as that. And Phil Spencer is 100% right. Who the hell thought that Game of Thrones was not an event every single week? It was like the event on social media.
Sure, it was.
People making sure that they were watching that show live because they didn't want spoilers. Most of the time, not for everybody, but a lot of people, they'll let a show sit in their DVR, or they'll let it, wait a few days and they'll watch it on their time. That's what modern TV allows for us. Game of Thrones was different. Everyone was watching that thing the second they possibly could, as close to the launch. It was a massive event, and it was in a service. How's that possible? You're going to tell me that when, what's the name of the guy? The street level superhero, Daredevil. Sorry, I'm just about to say he's a huge deal when it came to Netflix. I forgot his name. But it was, when Daredevil came to Netflix, that was absolutely massive. When they just announced that they were going to do Marvel shows on Netflix, it was massive. This is the same deal with gaming. Who the hell isn't excited about getting the newest Halo game or the newest Forza game in Game Pass? It's next to nothing a month. I'm not going to pretend that it's costing a lot because that makes it better. It's dirt cheap.
Yeah,
dirt cheap. I got dudes on Twitter. Well, I'm seeing dudes on Twitter that are constantly berating Tim about, why would you want this to be on Sony? You just want Sony to do it so you can justify Xbox's actions. That is crazy to me. So shady, want Sony to do what Microsoft is doing because it is insanely pro-consumer. I want those Sony first-party bangers, quote unquote, for next to nothing a month. That's what I want. I look out for my wallet, not a goddamn billion-dollar companies. And that was another quote I loved from this interview, was Phil being like, don't worry about our money. Enjoy the services we have on offer. Maybe check the stock. Maybe check how much we're worth. Almost $1 trillion. We're doing good over here, goddammit. I loved it, man. Phil was taking no prisoners in this interview. It was great. And boo on most of the interviewees, the guys, or not interviewees, the people doing it. Kotaku was brutal. When they got up, Aaron Greenberg, I couldn't believe the questions being asked.
Oh my God.
Outrageous. Was the man wearing a PlayStation for Life t-shirt as he asked the questions? My God. So, man, I thought it was a fantastic interview myself. I think that personally, again, speaking for myself only, when games launch in Game Pass, that's a bigger event than when games launch at full price only, because I know that all my gaming friends, all the way down to the casuals, they have Game Pass. So they all have the game. So we can all experience it at the same time we want. We can play together. If it has multiplayer, we can talk about it. It's not like, hey, do you have, I'm not trying to convince people every other week to drop $60 or $20 for a little indie that looks decent or looks intriguing, but you're not sure if you want to spend 20. Game Pass is the answer to all that. It's just there and everyone has it. Load it up. You got the space on your hard drive. Load it up. It's not hurting anybody. It's making everyone money. That's all we hear from devs. We're making more money. We're selling more games. We're selling more games on PlayStation because we put our game in Game Pass, because the awareness level goes up. Like, I thought this interview was brilliant. I liked it a lot. The one thing that Tim brought up early, which was actually a different interview, I believe it was said on stage, was, it was the interview. It was when Phil said, Scarlet will not be beat on price or power.
Yes.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah.
It sounds amazing. The way that I want to interpret that is that the Scarlet will be more powerful and at the very least be the same price or cheaper. I don't like this rumor that it's because the Lockhart still exists and it's actually going to be because there's two SKUs. So one of them is more powerful and likely more expensive. The other one will be less powerful than the PS5, but cheaper. So technically, if they call both of those the Scarlet family, they're not lying. But I think that is smoke and mirrors statement. If there's a Lockhart man, because we don't know, they haven't confirmed it. So we're all out here guessing. Tim was worried about people being confused if they announce a Lockhart now. This will confuse people even worse. If they launch with a Lockhart that's cheaper but weaker, and another one that's more expensive but more powerful, after making a statement that Scarlet will not be beat. Now they have to go back and kind of justify this statement. Oh, it's because we were actually talking about the two consoles, not one. So I'm not a fan of that because it's somewhat dubious, as long as there's two consoles involved. If it's one console and he's saying statements like, we will not be beat on price and power, that tells me that at the least it'll be the same cost as the PS5 and we'll have more power. I like that interpretation much, much, much better myself.
Yes, same.
So
I'm going to say this, Shady, though. The one thing that I have to give Microsoft a lot of credit with a lot of stuff that they're doing is that the leaks have been very minimum.
We haven't heard much of anything.
Yeah.
Like, we're actually getting new IP, shown to us without anyone ever hearing about it, and that's pretty amazing in today's day and age. It's very rare. Like, there's some guys out there that got to be magicians or just have the deepest sources, man, like Deep Throat from X-Files, because they have crazy knowledge that's just so early. It's got to be hard to be a marketing dude at these and try and keep that a secret and make that big bang that you're hoping for. But man, it doesn't seem like it has been over the last few years, where it just felt like Xbox was a leaky sieve and we knew everything that was happening and wasn't happening well before any of these shows and stuff. So not only was there no surprises, but you already kind of had your hopes crushed before the shows would even happen, because they just weren't doing much for a long time. They had to get their butts kicked. They had to, I don't know, Phil had to be promoted and kick Stadia's door down to remind the man that they own Xbox. Oh, shit, we own Xbox? How much money does video games make? Billions, you say. Oh, my bad. Let's take it a little more serious, because it's a different company now. It's called the same thing, but it is obviously being run by people with a different mentality, a more pro-consumer mentality. They are obviously spending crazy amounts of money, not on just dev studios, but on individual devs, the human beings that make these games. And they're not just like Joe Blow that's in the industry. These are big names, former heads of studios, former technical head that made Rockstar's game engine. I mean, my God, I can only imagine what that guy's going to be overseeing. We've got art leads from Naughty Dog and animation leads from Naughty Dog, and these are almost as big, those guys, as individual studios. An individual studio, kind of like Phil said, it kind of sounds just like a trading card that you can put the logo on and be like, look, we've got 100 now. Great. But They need to make games, and in order for them to be good, they need good talent. And every single one of these studios is on a hiring spree and has been since the second they were acquired. Some of them are getting brand new buildings built for them, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Like, video games are serious business. They make more money than Hollywood globally. Microsoft is taking it dead serious now. They got, they were a sleeping bear and they got poked one too many times by the Japanese here with the Sony. It's on. It is on. It is one of the richest companies on the planet. They are buying shit up left and right. They're taking this industry serious. They, once again, are pushing something which is Game Pass and first-party launches, which is changing the industry. Xcloud streaming, again, is changing the industry, just like ubiquitous online with Xbox Live did in the past, where you needed to have cable internet. And I remember that at the time. No one had cable internet. Very, very, very few. And they were getting blasted for that. No one has it. Why are you going to do this? Because it's the standard that's coming. This is what's going to happen with streaming as well as a console at home. That's the new standard. Sony's going to be doing it. Nintendo's going to be doing it. EA, even the companies that aren't official platform holders are like streaming their games and making them available in services day one, like Ubisoft and EA. Microsoft just has this ability to kind of see the future coming for a long time. And they often make the shift a little too quick, and it scares the public that it has no idea, and they're just like, oh my god, and they freak everyone out for too long. Come back in a couple of years and everyone's got an Alexa in their house. No longer are we afraid of having giant corporations record literally every single thing we say in our houses. We're not afraid anymore. We invite it. So I think Microsoft is very, very forward thinking. They're in a brilliant position to come out swinging with the next generation. And with all the trouble, with all the uphill battling this entire generation, they're more profitable than they've ever been. And that tells me that they're obviously doing something right. They are, at the very least, making so their diehard customers, me, you guys here on the panel that are still with them, they're making us happy. We're still here. We're still spending money, obviously. I own over 700 games. I love Game Pass. I'm a subscriber for that for the next 3 years already. We have EA Access and have had it since launch. If we could get EA games day and date, I would upgrade to that. If we could do it on Ubi games on console, I would buy that. I don't need to own my games to enjoy my games. So I don't know what to say, man. Besides, I'm a happy fan right now. We just saw a show that showed 50 games all coming to a game service that we all have. It costs next to nothing a month, and we're all going to be able to experience all this stuff. I didn't want to spend $20 each on one of those 50 games. That's insane.
Instead, we're gonna break down on the second topic about why Stadia is DOA. But I just want to get Cybernox's opinion on this. Again, this was a really, really excellent interview. Phil Spencer did what Phil Spencer does. He went up there. He was very candid. He was very honest. He was very open. He didn't use big words to try and confuse anyone. He was very, very thoughtful in his answers. Is there anything in particular that stands out for you as an Xbox gamer that walked away from this interview and said, you know what? There's a good chance that they could pull into first place next generation.
Well, I'll tell you something. Phil might go to jail after that interview because he just murdered a lot of people with words. All right. I'm going to tell you that right now. I love that interview. You know why? Because he addressed so many things so clearly. He was just like, listen, price and power. Yeah, we got that. He even addressed the next generation, even future generations. I believe talking to Tom Moore, and he was just like, I think the quote was, yes, we do think there will be multiple generations. Let me see here. Yes. And do we think there will be multiple generations ahead of us? I actually think there probably is. So we're going all in. We're all in on Project Scarlet, and I want to compete. And I want to compete in the right ways, which is why we're focused on crossplay and backwards compatibility. Like, he was just hitting all the right notes on that interview. He was just telling it like it is, exactly how he sees the company going. And it's kind of like everybody here talked about. This platform right now, the Xbox platform, is the most pro-consumer platform out there. Just look at everything they're doing. Just look at all the options they offer you. You cannot beat it. I don't understand. Game Pass right now is the best gaming subscription service in the market. You know, that interview was brilliant. I just loved everything he had to say. I'm pretty much on board with what everybody said. You know, so I won't just repeat myself. But yeah, he killed it in that interview. I just can't wait to see what Xbox is gonna offer to us just in a in a year's time.
Yeah, I mean, 12 months from now, we're going to all be playing the Xbox Scarlet. Now, I can't say that about the PlayStation 5 because we don't have an idea. I mean, we've heard December. You know, we know it's coming in holiday. Is it coming in November like normal? Is it going to be in December like we've been hearing? Who knows?
Yeah.
But I can
One
tell
thing
you,
I will mention, Boom, is just I kind of agree with Shady. I don't like the two SKUs approach. If that is going to be the case, they had a messaging problem, in my opinion, where
yes, they did.
a lot of their executives or a lot of their PR they never seem to be on the same page. One was always stepping or stumbling over the other. And right now we have technically still three Xbox Ones out in the wild. We have the OG Xbox, we have the Xbox One S, and we have the X. It would I think to me it would benefit them if they start the next generation with one SKU fresh. Listen, this is all we're offering right here.
They
And
actually had executives saying contradicting things just at this last
yeah,
XO. Matt Booty was out there saying we are now leaving the acquisition phase and entering the game delivery phase, like on stage. And then 2 hours later, in an interview with the Eurogamer and whatnot, they asked Phil, "So are you guys done buying studios?" And he's just like, "Nope,
no,
we're still looking." So I mean, like you've got two
yeah,
guys that are saying two different things. And
exactly.
that's part of the problem is they need to almost, I don't know, have an actual meeting in the same room before they
They
go out there
do.
first or
They
something,
do.
because that
And
is
one
happening too often.
And one thing about XO too, I mean, I'm a big fan of Xcloud and I love because I'm in the program right now. And if you try it, you're gonna be a believer without a doubt. But the to me, Xcloud was gonna be one of the biggest and most important keynotes on in XO. And I just didn't like the way it went about it. They were just the messaging wasn't clear. I don't know if they were nervous up there that when the guy from EA came by.
They
So,
had
so
not to interrupt, but they had a problem with the prompter.
They
That's what
did.
they
They
is that
had.
missed
what
a
it
whole.
is?
They missed a whole
Okay.
bunch of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Okay. So I just feel for them in that sense, because xCloud is gonna be big. I'll tell you, it's gonna be big.
Agreed.
Hey, Tim, let me come back to you about this because obviously, you were talking about, you kind of alluded on it for a second, about the getting EA,
Mhm.
getting Madden 2020 on XCloud,
Huge.
and like I said, we're gonna get into xCloud versus Stadia in the second topic after we're done with this. But for you as an Xbox gamer, seeing this, seeing the show, seeing what Phil had to say, seeing how xCloud just added 50 games to it, it seems as if they are putting their foot on the gas and blowing into the next generation with some serious speed. And I mean, does that excite you as a diehard Xbox fan?
Yes, 100%. I mean, to be honest, I looked like when I went to E3, I had a feeling I gave it an 8, and then I thought about it more, and then I kind of readjusted my score to a 7 because I felt like they missed on a little things. But with XO, I also gave that an 8. But the more I thought about it, the more that I felt and slept on it, I was like, God damn it, they had a really good show. They killed it with Game Pass. The Game Pass is just completely, it was just unbelievable what they offered. They also did very good job. I agree that they have some problems with the messaging, but I think it was with the prompter. But they did add XCloud to Game Pass, which is huge. The 50 games, which is huge,
Amazing.
um, amazing, and they had so many good stuff. They had surprises, like Shady said. We didn't know about Grounded, or we had no idea, and
Right.
that never happens. And
Oh,
that was 3 times. Now maybe they're a little bit smaller games, but that's what we've always been wanting. Though we wanted to be
New
surprised.
IPs are still new IPs, Tim.
Right, exactly. So, I'm yeah. What's transaction in the last couple of days, I really feel, and after XO, after everything's kind of settled, I really feel really good about what they're doing. I think Aside from maybe messaging and stupid things like Shady brought up and Cyber brought up, they as long as they get themselves, straightened out, I think they got this. I think that the way they're going about it, they're just really set up, and it's took a long time, and it's been a long time coming, and there was a lot of situations where there have been a lot of frustration from people, and people have left. But now it's smooth sailing. I really feel they're going to be coming in strong, and this is the start of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, this has been a strong topic to start off this super firepowered show for sure. But I want to move on to the next topic because again, this is concerning Stadia and Xbox and Xcloud, and this is my question. Microsoft's Xcloud, and like Tim was saying, it just added 50 games, and they were made available for all preview members as of XO19, and why that's extremely significant and is a bigger deal than people are seem to not have been making of it is that Stadia's launch is tomorrow. Okay, and obviously, when they first showed off Stadia, there were a lot of a lot of promises. Like most companies are going to go out there and they're going to try and put their best foot forward. And in a story that I've covered on both Breakfast with Boom and, of course, the Xbox Factor podcast, Microsoft, I think, and in my opinion, I'll get everyone's opinion in a second, just delivered the death blow to Google Stadia before it even launches. As it's been reported, Google Stadia is launching tomorrow. And originally is only going to have 12 titles. Well, that's been moved up to 22. Big deal. And what's worse is that all of the promises that were talked about during the Stadia event, this console is going to be releasing with missing key features. Now, Microsoft's launch date for Xcloud is still a mystery, but it's currently available in the US, UK, and Korea. Microsoft announced during XO19 that it would be expanding to Japan, India, Northern Europe, and Canada. Now, the Xcloud preview launched only a month ago, Tim, and with 5 titles, and it's now working with 25 partners, and they launched 50 games. And listen to some of these titles: Madden 20, Devil May Cry 5, Tekken 7, Soul Calibur 6, Hellblade, Crackdown 3, World War Z, Black Desert Online, Halo Wars 2, and Forza Horizon 4. That's just the tip of the iceberg. And this will give Xcloud testers a lot more games to play, but also provide Microsoft with a better understanding on how the service will run when it has more demanding titles in there. Now, Tim, when you see this happening, first of all, what Microsoft did during XO, it almost seemed like it was calculated. Now, they normally don't do things like this, right? Like normally they just kind of they stay in their lane and they just do them, right?
Mm.
Well, this to me seemed as if it was a line in the sand that was drawn by Phil and company, because they have this event, they make this announcement. Stadia, it gets reported that they're only releasing with 12 games. They just added 10 more for a total of 22 games. And all of the games are old. All of the games cost $60, and you still have to spend $130 for the device plus the monthly fee. Do you think that what they have shown off at XO19 basically has made Google Stadia irrelevant before the release of it tomorrow?
Well, I'll tell you this one. I think they definitely calculated what they did, and I definitely think that they heard them. Especially when you see them up the games from 12 to 22, they took the feedback. Today the reviews came in for Stadia, and it's been very, very bad. Well, a lot of it's been lukewarm. The promise of 4K 60 on games. If you're on the 4K tier, your gamer is getting 1440 30 frames per second on Red Dead Redemption 2. That means that you're getting Xbox One X better, even though you're playing locally, than you're getting a lot better than what you are on Stadia's top tier. So
make sure you turn all your other devices off first, though.
Yes. So I think what's going on here is I've heard even from internally or from people that they really kind of want Microsoft to go in hard now, or they can really deliver death blow if they want. But I think Microsoft is not going to be as I think Sony would be a lot more ruthless in this case.
Yes,
they got Stadia in a bad position right now, real bad. But I think what's going to happen is that Xbox is just going to take more time with Xcloud and let basically the Stadia the show go on. And I think that they're having a lot. They promised a lot. When you're talking 8K 120 on your first freaking in March, you just set yourself up. And now they're not even hitting 4K. They're in a bad position. I think Microsoft's playing it classy. I think that they definitely had their eye on Sony. I'm not Sony on Google from the start of this with streaming. Remember when the whole video came out, and then Xcloud kind of responded with a week after with their own kind of like put together thing. That was because Microsoft was a little taken back. They were like, wow, and obviously they don't know what Google's working on, how far along they are, or they didn't at that time. So they were like, wow. But now when you see what's going on, and there's so many issues, you can't get LTE right off there are so many things that you can't do at launch that I really think that, like you say, do I think that they made them irrelevant? I think that they pretty much came pretty close to, making their situation look dire. And if they wanted to really do a death blow, which I think Shady with his great commentary before about with what Sony did and with that commercial, which was definitely a fanboy thing. That thing was ruthless in a way, but it really kind of did hurt Xbox. If we all remember, everyone
it absolutely did. Yes,
and I think Microsoft's in a position where, do you take that position or do you just kind of just let them be? And I think that Microsoft's not going to go for the death blow, but I do think that they are in a position where they could. I just think that they're just so much further along. People here, I've tried Xcloud. I have Xcloud. Cyber has it.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys have tried it. It's really good, man.
Oh, I tried it. I've tried it. I played it at E3. It was flawless.
Yeah, and it's really good. I've tried it at different locations. I've tried it. There's some things that that need to be worked on, but they're doing it the right way. They're doing it with a preview program. So I mean, tomorrow, I really feel like it's going to be, when people get this, there's going to be a lot of bad videos out there.
Oh my God!
It's just, is Google going to be backing this, or are they going to, they're going to put their big boy pants on and say, hey, this is the long haul, or are they going to say, this is a bad experiment? That's the next thing. I hope that for gamers' sake that they kind of just ride this out and you know what this sounds like to me, Tim? This sounds like the PlayStation Mini. That's what this sounds like. People are all excited about this thing, and then it came out, and it was and before you know it, it was in 5 and below. Mm-hmm. And I think that this is where this is going. I mean, this could be real ugly though. Yeah, sure. It's going to cost them millions of dollars. Could be really ugly too. I mean, whatever this guy Harrison, whatever the guy touches, he was with the PS3, and then he was with Xbox at their worst. I mean, whatever this guy touches, it seems goes to shit. So I mean, I honestly, like I said it today in a tweet. I don't really have glee. I don't want to see people go out of business, or I don't want to see the gaming division go defunct and people lose jobs. No, of course not. I hope that they can gather it. But it's kind of looking grim right now. I think that they really went about this the wrong way. That's a great point. Real quick, before I get to Gaming Forte's opinion on this, I have to thank Axel1324 with the outstanding and very generous $5 super chat. He says, would the panel be okay with a 2-tier launch if one was the most powerful home console and the other was a dedicated xCloud portable? Now, listen, I'll let people answer if they want to answer, but I'm going to tell you, Axel, tune in on Thursdays
Xbox Factor podcast, because I wrote an original topic exactly on that point, because Phil Spencer said multiple times in that interview that they are working with third-party peripheral makers on a lot of different things. I would not be remotely surprised. It's certainly not going to be published by Xbox. You know, they're not going to be the ones developing it, but I can see something along those lines. But yeah, tune in for that. And thank you so much for being here. And of course, the generosity. And of course, we have someone new that's here. He says, I think it's ARDHIM. Drops us $2 super chat. Thank you for that, dude. He says Stadia requires Google Pixel phone, not any Android. Yeah, well, that's the big problem.
I got an answer real quick for that first question, Boom. I think we're past the time for dedicated consoles. Like the whole reason for Xcloud is so that you can use the phone or the tablet you already own, or play it on the desktop computer or laptop you already own. They'll make controllers that will connect to your phone or to your tablets or something like that. I think they'll make peripherals, but I do not see anyone making a dedicated Xbox portable Xcloud device at all. I don't think Sony's going to do it either. They want to stream to any screen, not just a portable device that only plays PlayStation games or a device that only plays Xbox. I think that's closed-minded for in today's world that they want to sell. Like, it's working for Switch, but again, I think Switch's portability is about to get challenged hard because you already have a phone because you want one in your pocket. You want to call people, you want to text people, you want to surf the internet. The Switch doesn't do those things. So it's a secondary device, and I don't think a lot of people are lining up to have secondary devices on the go anymore. So I doubt that'll happen myself, but I could see, like you said, controllers and a whole bunch of other doodads that will connect to your phones to make them feel more like a controller experience.
Yeah, I mean, that certainly makes sense, but you know what?
Like a small piece of hardware, there'll be kind of like let's say an Apple TV or something like that that'll let you play those games at a, I don't know, higher level of fidelity or something like that than whichever device you would have. You know, sometimes you'd be playing on some old hardware or something like that, and if you had that specific Xcloud, let's say console, you would play it to the highest and better, the highest resolution and better frame rate than anything else. But I'm not sure.
I don't know. It's going to certainly be interesting to see which how they go about this. But obviously, Microsoft is about options. But Forte, let me get your opinion on this. Obviously, it's funny. I don't even know. Does GameStop sell Stadia?
No,
they don't. Okay, so that's one of the biggest retailers in the States. Regardless of whether you like them or hate them, is not selling it. When you hear that the reviews are poor, when you hear that they were launching with missing features, when you hear that they're originally going to release with a miserable dozen games and then moved it up to a whopping 22, and then Microsoft comes out during XO and drops 50 more games, including Madden 2020 and all of these other big 25 different partners are working with them. Do you think that Stadia has become irrelevant before they even hit the market?
Well, in the short term, they will be irrelevant. I mean, it's kind of funny for a platform that's actually having a full launch versus one that's in a beta to say that something made it irrelevant. But it will in the initial phase because they're just going to keep rolling Xcloud out to more and more people over the course of the next months and however long it's going to take until they actually get a solidified launch date for the actual platform. But man, 12. The thing is, I think Microsoft really surprised me more than anything than Google did, because I wasn't expecting 50. That's Michael Jordan numbers right there that you're throwing up in a beta.
Yeah, it's great.
I mean, you're going from 3 to 5 to 20 to just fit. Like, there's no 30 or 40 in there. You just said we're just going to amp this up and we're going to go to 50. And
in a month, and they went from 5 to 50.
5 to 50 in a month. So I think, honestly, and because I'm a person that has Google Stadia, I actually pre-order Google Stadia. I have it, and it's mostly because I'm a tech head and I just have to have the new stuff and I want to be able to talk about it. But for a person that isn't invested like us, man, why would you go out and get Google Stadia knowing that first of all, the games that you play on there, you have to buy them all over again if there's games that you have separately. Where Microsoft says that Xcloud is coming to Windows PC, and it's with the option of probably being able to play games through Game Pass that you have on it. So it's like a double-edged sword that's not fully matured yet, and that's still in beta compared to what we know what you're getting from Google. Now, the one thing that I will say for Google is they're not launching or having a full launch themselves. They're only really just doing the launch for the Founders Edition is the biggest thing. They haven't rolled out the free version yet, which is later on next year. And that is going to be an option for people because it gives you a ability to be able to play the games on whatever you want to, like PC, window browser, pretty much like how xCloud is. And I think that's going to be the bigger barometer for Google Stadia. But as of right now, it just doesn't look good for a beta to be outdoing your full launch with triple the amount of games that's going to be in it. I don't get that, but Google, I guess Google knows what they're doing, but ultimately Microsoft surprised me more than the news of Google only having 12 to 26 games, because like I said, we were under the impression it was only going to be 12 at launch, and then they raised it to 22. So in their minds, they kind of doubled it, but nobody expect Microsoft to add 10 times the amount of games to just the beta. And I think that's what surprised people the most and kind of got people wondering, like, Google, what are you doing? If Microsoft can do this and supposedly you're a bigger company with more money, how can Microsoft pull something off like this and Google can't? I can tell you why. Microsoft's a gaming company that's been doing it for X amount of years, where Google just getting into it. And you're starting to see that difference now in just that.
Well, I mean, they made a lot of promises. They were up there. They, obviously, they have their only first party studio. I don't know what they're working on right now. We know that Jade from the Assassin's Creed fame is working with Stadia. Jade Raymond, more specifically, and that's a big get for them. But obviously, they have one studio.
Well, the people they have on their staff are more famous than the games that they're making. Honestly, at this point, we don't know anything about the games they're making. All we know is the names of the people making the games. And honestly, I don't buy games to just know who made it. The
game's got to be a game. It's got to be good.
Yeah, the names come from the names. We know the names because of the games they make. That's why we know who all these people are, because the games they made us pay attention to them. And Google doesn't have that yet.
No, that's a great point. That's a really great point. Shady, before I get to your opinion on this debacle, I have to thank Gotham Guy with the outstanding $5 super chat. He says the one thing that stood out for the xCloud panel was the support of multiple Bluetooth controllers, including a Sony DualShock 4. Now that was a surprise. Yeah, that was a bit of a shocker for me.
That was a surprise to me too.
You can use all these control, and obviously, the one thing that Shady, the one thing that Microsoft pushes, the one thing that leads the charge for Team Microsoft is giving their customers the ability to do many things. Whether that be play anywhere you want, play how you want, use what you want, and with obviously xCloud, they're going to allow you to play on phones, on tablets, on PC, on your, using your Xbox. But you're gonna, if you can play where you want, and it seems as if they're going to give you an option to use whatever controller you want. Mm-hmm. And you turn around, Shady, and you look at what Stadia is doing, and it seems as if they're kind of stuck in a rut. And they're launching this thing. I mean, I've heard a lot of people say, well, why didn't they just cook this in the oven? This seems like you put the pie in, you baked it for 25 minutes, and it was still raw, and you took it out and you served it. That's what it seems like to me. What is your opinion on Stadia being DOA? And do you think that this could the death blow have been given by X019's presentation of what they're doing with xCloud?
I think Stadia is most certainly launching in a beta phase. Like, they don't have their 4K ready, their 60 frames ready, their achievement systems aren't ready, their game share isn't ready. And when people were asking them about that game share, I think their answer was honestly, hey, if you want to play a game with someone on Stadia, your friend there, just buy a second copy. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that what I can do? But it's not a good look, especially because it costs money. So if you're going to launch it in a preview program or a beta stage like it most obviously is, this shouldn't have costed money. This should have been at the most, I guess, is given out what the Stadia controller and the little dongle is. You start giving that out to YouTubers and other people like that for free. Here you go, play with it for a bit. If that's what you need, which it seemingly is, you need that in order to use it, or you can play it on your only Pixel phone. And I think the reason for that is Google is really, really, really badly trying to steal console players, which is why they have it out now. It's about to be Christmas. They're trying to just get sales from ignorant people that aren't in on what's truly available and what's missing. But like, the only reason you're paying Stadia to begin with monthly is for the 4K and the 60 frames and the Dolby Atmos, which is also missing, and the HDR and stuff like that. And every now and then they'll throw you a free game, kind of like what Gold and PlayStation Plus does per month. But it's not per month with Stadia. It's every now and then.
Right.
And that's the paid version. There is a free version of Stadia, which will be 1080p, probably 30 frames, maybe 60, but it doesn't have the Dolby Atmos. It doesn't have the HDR. And you're not going to get 4K, let alone 8K. My God. But there is a free version. All you have to do is buy your games from Google and they will stream those to you. I'm convinced that's how Xcloud is going to work. There's not going to be a cost associated with Xcloud at all. You just buy
I think
your
it's going to be
product.
baked into your Ultimate Game Pass.
The different and they said that. They said it was going to be bundled, and I instantly was like, "Oh man, that's bad wording." What that means to me is that every single game in Game Pass will work with Xcloud. Every game on Xbox will not just work. They need the permission of the publishers, because this is a new medium for me to play the game, access the game, and potentially buy it. So they need to go back to every single publisher and ask for permission to put it onto Xcloud. Once the publisher says yes, it's literally like a button press away. When the EA guy came out there excited as all hell that Madden was going to be on Xcloud, they literally said, I brought it over, we loaded it in, minutes later we were playing it on Xcloud. That is what it's going to take. So when they said that it'll be bundled with Game Pass, that told me that every single game in Game Pass going forward in the future, when this is happening, that's the next phase. It's not today's phase.
Yeah.
Will work. Those will all work. Maybe every game outside of Game Pass, even if you own it, it won't work because the publishers didn't give permission. It's very similar to the back compatibility program. If a 360 game was going to go and work on the Xbox One, the developers and the publishers, whoever owned that license, controlled it, they needed to give permission. And that's it. Once they gave permission, Microsoft did all the work necessary on their end to make that game now backwards compatible. So I could just put my disc in, or I could buy it new in the store, and it worked. So it's the same with Xcloud. They need permission first. And when they announced that it will be bundled, that just told me that every single game right now, like 200 plus, I think almost, they will all work. So if you're a Game Pass subscriber, you get those 200 included, and there you go. And that was like a subtle dig maybe towards Stadia, where they don't have a Game Pass. They don't have something like, you're paying $10 a month right now on Stadia starting tomorrow, and you have nothing. You can play free-to-play Destiny. Nice. Like, you still have to buy all your games, where for the same money virtually to Microsoft, you can get 200 games streamed to you. But I do believe that you will, if I buy a game that isn't in Game Pass and that dev studio or that publisher has given Microsoft permission to have it streamed, it'll be streamed for free. I'm not going to have to pay anything more. I won't have to be a Game Pass subscriber, let's say, if I'm not. If I just own that title and it has permission, I'll stream it for nothing. I believe that is truly what they are doing here. There may be a bigger version once they start loading the stacks of Xcloud with Scarlet systems, because right now they're S's.
Right.
And that's the difference again between Stadia and Xcloud, is the fidelity that you're playing these Xcloud games on is dependent on an Xbox S. That's it. It can't do 4K. Right now, Xcloud isn't even advertising 4K because they don't have it. They don't have Scarlet stacked, at least not to my knowledge. They haven't told us that stuff. Whereas Stadia, they're going hard on your big TV right now. They want to be in your living room before you go out and buy a PS5 or an Xbox Scarlet. Before gamers do that, they want to make sure that their living room experience is working, and that's where their little dongle and controller are coming in, and that's why the mobile isn't getting as much push right now. Whereas Xcloud is all about the mobile. They have a console for sale for you if you want that living room experience. So their Xcloud is pushed towards mobile mostly, I believe. And Stadia right now is focusing on the living room experience and doing it poorly because they're charging you to play with their beta. Whereas Xcloud right now, granted, you have to sign up and basically win an Xcloud lottery to be invited into it, but it's not costing money. And then while you're in it, they allow you to play the games that currently do have permission, and there's 50 of them.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. They've got 50 games that someone who's never played or owns a Microsoft product at all, if they get into the Xcloud beta today, they can play those 50 games. That's an amazing way to build up goodwill, get good word of mouth out, and it lets them obviously get the feedback they need, if it's working, if it's not, what it's not working and why, without charging people money and then expecting them to buy games on top of it. So I think there's just two totally different launch strategies going on. I think Stadia is going about it completely wrong at the moment, but it's an obvious beta. So I believe a lot of these reviews are holding the fact that it's not launching full against it. It's not 4K, take a point off. It's not running 60 frames, take a point off. And like, not to say that it doesn't deserve it. Google said it's launching. They didn't say it's launching in beta. They didn't let people know that this wasn't the full product up front. So it's on them. But I also have heard, I think it was Eurogamer, their review was something like, it's the best streaming service out. It's just not 100% ready yet. So there's that. Like, people are just, the ones that I think can see what's coming, and the fact that it's not a full service yet, realize that it works. At the very least, it works. Back when Assassin's Creed Odyssey was being tested in Stadia, D from RDX, he was playing it, I know, and he said it worked. He was like, very imperceivable lag. The game works fantastic. It's great. The technology is there. It's just being rolled out really slowly and sloppily on Stadia's side, where Microsoft, I think, is doing it proper. It's an invite only, so you don't have customers that are paying money out of their pocket to just test something. That's not a good look, and there's more there. And I think there's going to be more in the future. You also have that console backdrop. If it doesn't work for you, or you only want to do it when you're on the shitter and that's it, that's fine. You go back to your console when you're done, you wiped up. That's the way it goes. So I think Microsoft's in a better position overall, but I don't think Stadia is, quote unquote, dead on arrival. And I also don't think Microsoft did what they did because of Stadia. I think it was a happy coincidence. We've known Xcloud is coming for years. They've been talking about it.
Right.
They're obviously, this is something that they're going to be doing. So it's kind of like right now, like, does every announcement that Sony make have something to do with what Xbox did and vice versa? No, both companies are releasing a next-gen console within 12 months. So I expect to get news out of both companies. And in this case, we've got two big-ass companies, both releasing a streaming service. So I just expect news out of both. And Xbox happened to have a big event right now, which was a week before Stadia launched, and they're just rolling out the next phase of their beta program. So why not mention it? But I think Xcloud's a better service overall, likely more options, and it's not asking you to pay money right now.
I mean, it does make sense. It certainly does make sense. But again, there's a lot of upfront cost with Stadia, and obviously, Cybernox. We were talking pregame, and you were hearing a lot of people were canceling their pre-orders. And for good reason. Obviously, it's not getting praised in the reviews. The reviews are coming out. They're slowly dribbling out, and some people have had poor things to say about it. Some people have said some so-so things, I got to be honest with you. This has not interested me at all. I wouldn't take it for free. I'm going to be completely honest with you, because I'm not buying the games that I currently own either on the PlayStation 4 or mostly on the Xbox One X, where it's going to clearly run better. And Xcloud is right down the block. But in your opinion, what are your thoughts on all of the negative reviews? But more importantly, do you think that Microsoft basically curb stomped this before it even launched?
Well, I think it's understandable, right? Here you have a product that you had to pay $130 for, and they told you exactly how it's going to work out. And once you get this product, you're missing more features than you actually have.
Yep.
And two, some people are actually didn't even get it on the same date. They're getting emails saying that their shipment has been delayed. They've been charged, but their shipment has been delayed. So they don't even know when they're going to get it. They might get it this week. They might get it, the following week. But as it comes to the mediocre reviews and things like that, it's understandable. I think it was crucial for the Stadia team to make this a launch before Xcloud. I think they might be a little bit intimidated by Xcloud just because they know that Microsoft probably has a leg up on them when it comes to the games in general, the streaming. Um, yeah, man, this was just I was extremely surprised that this is the state and if you recall correctly, there were people thinking that because they were that they had a determined date that they were ready for launch. No, because they giving us an exact day when this is launching. Xcloud is already, I'm sorry, State is already ahead of Xcloud, which does not seem to be the case right now. I'm on the Xcloud program, and I'll tell you what, that program works like a charm. But if I were a founder of this, I'd be upset as well. They kind of like what Shady said. There's no achievements. You can only use if you have a Chromecast Ultra right now at home. You cannot use the service. You can only use with the Chromecast Ultra that comes on your founders pack. That's great.
Yikes.
That's insane. I think your Buddy Pass doesn't work, right? For you can't use any device. You can only use the Pixel phone. If you're using it on the Pixel phone, you have to have your controller plugged into your phone. There is so much that's going
Yikes.
against it. It's kind of insane. And in return, I kind of like after seeing this, I'm kind of glad that Xbox is taking their time because when they launch this, it's got to work. It's got to work the way it's
Yes.
intended to. I just hope that there's a lot of people out there who doesn't know that Xbox is also doing a streaming service. Let's say the casuals. I just hope that they don't see this and get bed press from Stadia and then think, oh, streaming is not for me and streaming is not gonna it's not gonna work out for Xbox as well because XCloud does seem to be going on the right direction. They're taking their time. They already, if XCloud comes out tomorrow the same day as Stadia, Stadia's DOA.
Yep.
100%.
Absolutely, no doubt.
At this point, I don't think so because right now, technically, this is a beta. They just needed to call it a launch for I don't know what reason they wanted to call this thing a launch. But if I was a founder of this, I'd be highly disappointed. And
I mean,
and one more thing, I'm sorry. In
yeah.
the Stadia doesn't offer if they don't offer a subscription service in the future, I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised. They'll be DOA in like a year or so, because for you to pay and then for you to pay for your game still doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, that's the main reason why they call it it's a launch, because once you sell something, you can't call it a beta anymore.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right. If you're paying actual money, then it's not a beta. Yes.
It was like, could you imagine if all the digital movies, like you buy, if you're a digital movie guy and you're buying your movies from Microsoft, and then on top of that, you had to pay $5 or $10 a month to watch the movies you bought for them. It'd be insane.
It's
like
crazy.
That's just insane. Yeah. So like Stadia said, every now and then we'll toss you a free game, and that's what they're doing. But I think it's going to eventually turn into their own little, here's a pool of games that we have if you're paying our top tier all the time. But they don't have that yet. It's still so early.
Oh yeah.
But it will morph into that for sure. And that's why I really don't think Microsoft is going to charge me anything to stream games from Xcloud with no console. I'm not talking console streaming. I mean literally from their servers. For nothing. Just buy the game from them. If it has the permissions, it'll be for free. They don't want to gouge me another monthly thing to do it. They want to sell games to 2.6 billion gamers around the world, and with no barrier to entry cost wise, other than having a device and an internet connection. That's the way to do it. Like Stadia already has a free option coming. Microsoft almost has to.
And this comes full circle back to that Phil Spencer interview, because what did he say in that interview? He said, we learned from the Xbox One launch. Yes. So he does not want anything to happen when he releases a new feature, a new product, a new subscription service, anything. He wants everything to work the way it's intended to. So
That'd be nice.
Xcloud,
It's getting too
yeah.
much in gaming where games, systems, control, everything. It's like, oh, that needs an update. That needs to be fixed. That needs to be recalled. I'm tired of it, man. Like, release a finished product, whether it's a game or a console, something. It has to work when you're going to sell it to the public. That's the way to go.
I agree.
Well, I mean, listen, all I can tell you is this. I cannot wait to get the full reviews to see what people are saying. Obviously, I'm going to be hitting up Forte privately to think, obviously see what he has to say. I'm sure he'll be talking about it on BRAP on Wednesday, more than likely, because obviously it's going to be a hot button topic. But I want to move on to the third, and this one is I think an important topic to talk about. Tim, I asked you on here because I know that in the beginning when we were talking, you mentioned new IPs, and in one of the bigger announcements of XO19 that no one seems to really be talking about was Rare unveils a new IP called Everwild, and it looks absolutely amazing. Now, the problem that I have is that no one really seemed to care, and the community is still complaining, and it's a bit of a head scratcher for me personally. As a gamer who enjoys everything from AAA shooters to three-person development team indie titles, I was floored and blown away by Rare's new title, Everwild. It's the first new IP from Rare since they started work on Sea of Thieves in 2014, when it was just a group-shaped narrative. And, the game immediately reminded me of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and that's a good thing. Now, immediately after the presentation, I expected the world to catch fire with excitement for many reasons. It's a new IP from Rare. Check. It's absolutely gorgeous to look at. Check. It was only a minute and 39 seconds, but told a story of magic and wonder. Check. Though sadly, Tim, that didn't seem to happen. And, I want to make this perfectly clear. Not every game needs to look like God of War. In fact, if given a choice, and I had to pick one or the other, and you said, okay, boom, you have to pick God of War or Zelda Breath of the Wild, I got to be honest with you. I would take Zelda Breath of the Wild 10 out of 10 times for so many reasons of what you can do in that game as opposed to God of War. Sure, God of War, I loved it. It was my number 2 title for last year, and it's an amazing experience. I put 68 plus hours into it and loved every second of it. But getting back to this, Tim, why isn't the world on fire on a new Rare IP? Well, I think, Tim, you there, brother?
Did he get dropped?
Now, he might have been dropped. All right, you know what? I'll go to you, Forte.
Okay.
In your opinion, why hasn't the world caught fire on the newly announced IP from Rare?
Okay, so like I said, when I saw it, I was like, this is a really good looking game. Really good looking game. Like, it was interesting. It like you said, it told a story. But I'm gonna tell you why a lot of people and a lot of people that I like, Brad, we talked about this, and why a lot of people were kind of down on it. It's more of, it's not that it's the game, it's just that a lot of people's expectations were not in check when it came to what Microsoft was going to be revealing to them. When Microsoft comes out and says this is going to be our best and biggest, XO or anything that we do, it kind of adds expectations that are unrealistic to what people think they're going to see on screen. And I think people were hyping themselves up to see something like Fable, or when they were saying we're going to see like the next game from Obsidian and the next game from Rare. They had other things that were in their mind that they were ready to talk about and just witness for themselves, and it probably just didn't hit for them. I also think the whole comparison, like you just said, between, God of War, Breath of the Wild is a very fair comparison. Now, I'll pick God of War 10 out of 10 times because that's one of my favorite franchises, where Breath of the Wild is literally my second and third one. And I just think overall, the biggest problem a lot of people had with this is Microsoft over the course of the last couple of years they have done good things to bring games to the platforms, but they haven't diversified those games enough along the AAA front to make people care about the little things, like the little games like you just talked about, like those filler games, like a game like Outer Worlds is a really good contrast, but the thing is that wasn't a game that Microsoft, they fell into that with the publishing because they bought the company. It wasn't a game that they developed on their own. As of right now, over the last couple of years, we've been getting, like, in some people's minds, a bunch of AA and single A games, and all pushed through Game Pass, and they don't want that to be the narrative throughout next generation. They kind of want to see what next generation holds. And when they see games like this, they kind of just say, like, okay, Microsoft isn't making those graphically intensive games. And that's really what it comes down to. People want to see the reason that the Xbox One X is the most powerful system available. And that kind of seeps through even the Xbox community, and right or wrong, it paints a narrative that even Microsoft can't really change until they decide to start showing the games that those people want to see, which I believe is going to be in the beginning of next year towards E3.
Right.
But the game itself looked amazing. I liked the way it looked, but it's going to get a hard pass and just looked at real side-eye by a lot of people because it's not that banger like everybody wants it to be. When you have God of War, like on PlayStation side, you got God of War, you got Spider-Man. When you have those games, when they bring something out small in the middle of that, it doesn't seem bad. It seems like, okay, we got these bangers, and then we got this little small game, but all you remember is the big one that helped you get to this. It was like a filler game. They feel like Microsoft, all the games they put out are filler. And we want to get to the point where's the games that drive the sales of the console. Where people don't realize is Game Pass is going to drive the sales of the console at this point. Now that's what Microsoft is focusing on. So it's very, very, it's sad. It's sad that people looked at this game and didn't give it the praise that it should have got, because I think it's a very looking game. When you said Breath of the Wild, I thought the same exact thing, but people have expectations that are not in check. And when Microsoft says the biggest, baddest, and the best, they harp back to what E3 was. And think about it. People didn't like E3 because what? Microsoft said this is going to be our biggest E3 ever. But their expectations thought it was going to be way more than what Microsoft showed them. So, man, it's partly everybody's problem. And it's only going to get fixed until people see what they want to see.
Well, I mean, listen, I'm going to say this, and Tim, are you back, my brother?
I'm back.
Okay, excellent.
Welcome
excellent.
back, Tim.
Welcome back, Tim.
Sorry,
No, it's okay. Listen, the one thing the one thing I will say about Everwild is that we don't actually know what the game is, right? We don't. I mean, we can all assume different things, but I can tell you that in the 1 and 39-second trailer, it looked amazing. And if it's anything half as good as the Breath of the Wild is, it's going to be something special. And folks, we have to understand something. This is coming from Rare. Now, maybe Sea of Thieves isn't your thing, but it's somebody's thing. And remember that launched with a ton of missing stuff. And look at it now. Look at Sea of Thieves now. There is so much to do, and it's a beloved title. And I think that this game, Everwild, is going to be something special. So my question to you, Tim, before unfortunately you dropped out, is people are complaining that Microsoft doesn't give new IPs, right? They have not had a new IP in X amount of months and years. Well, they dropped 3 of them. And this one, to me, it's from Rare, and I think it's going to be a AAA banger. It looks gorgeous. Again, is it a magic game? Is it action adventure? I don't know, but I'm intrigued. Why do you think the world didn't catch fire when this was announced?
Can you hear me first and foremost?
Yes, we can.
Thank God. I don't know. I heard your question before, and I was trying to answer it. I don't know what happened. But listen, I think Gaming Forte, who's just speaking, right?
Yes.
He made excellent points. the fact of the matter is that that was that was the narrative that is the newest narrative against Xbox, and that was brought up, and partly because of Microsoft's fault, because maybe they kind of lauded it up. But what you said though is exactly true. The game looks fantastic. I do think out of the Twitter sphere and the social media that game did actually move a lot of people. I think that I've seen on some forums and stuff. A lot of people like the show. A lot of people like the way they looked. They just want to know what the game's about. That game has a ton of potential.
Oh yeah,
that game looks really good. And as Xbox fans, I think that we should, really understand that this is a game that Rare's making in addition to another game that they're putting out, and they're possibly going to be putting out another game. We just came off of Gears. Okay, Gears is exactly what people have been asking for. The mature, blow people's heads off, stomp on their heads. Also, Outer Worlds, which is going forward going to be an exclusive IP. I think people really wearing it thin with the narrative. If Xbox didn't have studios like Ninja Theory that has a Hellblade team, 343, Coalition, Turn 10, Playground, the car Playground game, makes the Forza Horizon, Initiative, a studio that they're lauding as quadruple A, and as Shady pointed out, has amazing talent. If you're knowledgeable and you're not trying to stir up something, you realize that this is going to come. Now, I spoke to some people, and they might have taken things out of the show that could have quelled some of those fears. But I think when you really think about it, you look at it, I think the way they went about it was the right way. If they can go into E3 and then they can they're in position to shut everyone up at E3, because this is the last narrative that you can pretty much go by. If they have everything else in check, this is the last thing that they can push against Xbox. They could show 3 or 4 AAAs, or just say 2 or 3. Even 2 or 3 is huge. That are mature looking, and what Gaming Forte alluded to, and they could shut everyone up. And that's the thing that they should do in the next couple of 6 months or 12 months leading up. They got to show those games, and then I do think that this game, Everlife, it's Everlife, right?
It's Everwild.
Everwild is really going to be a game that people look. I mean, for me personally, it definitely, I like the animal aspects. I think it had a magical feel. I think that the art style nailed it. The only thing left is what's the gameplay? What type of game is it? Is it a multiplayer only? Is it a single player, third person, adventure? I don't know what that's going to be. Those are the questions that are going to be answered, but they might have a real winner with Everwild. And I guarantee you, if that was shown on Sony's stage, or that game was shown,
it would have been heralded as the game of the century.
Oh, they wouldn't shut up about it. We all know that. We're being real right now.
Yes, we certainly are.
And 3 years ago, let's be honest, didn't you hear a lot of people complaining about variety? Xbox is the same thing over and over. It's Quantum Break. It's shooters. It's they don't have JRPGs. They don't have art. Games that have art style. Now you can actually make the case that they are the most diverse and have the most variety, because they can offer that big AAA experience than anyone. I mean, you look at what they're pushing out, and some of these games are beautiful. I mean, I even think Grounded looked good. I mean, granted, it's not going to be the biggest game. It's made by 13 people, but if they're making, and they even talked about it, they're making other RPGs.
Multiple RPGs.
You don't have to worry. We're just worrying just for the sake of worrying, because everything happened with Xbox, for some reason, everyone has to pick on. I don't, partially probably like Game Fort said, because they kind of built it up that way a little. but let's give them some due. I'm at the point where my patience is wearing thin. This is we're going around now on things that we have problems with Xbox. Meanwhile, Sony hasn't had a show since E3. They showed games at E3 that was shown in 2016. And everyone gives them a pass. That a game that just came out. Xbox definitely had a better year in games than Sony did. They just had a game that, if that game was on Xbox, I believe that it would definitely not be scoring an 83.
Oh my God! It would have been in the 60s, dude.
Yeah,
In the
I
60s.
mean, let's be honest, and I just think it's like it's just. I mean, we've been doing this for so long. Come on, it's getting a little played out. Give a little credit where credit's due. That was a good show, and like you said, Everwild looks awesome. I mean,
There's a lot to be excited about with that game.
I do think though that you would be surprised. I do think that there is a little bit of a buzz going on. I mean, I've read some of the forums going on, and people are like, the ones that just that aren't looking to push a narrative or to be the bullshit fanboy shit. They're really excited about the game. But again, we got to see what the game's about. Ton of potential there, and pretty much. That's the way I feel about it.
No, that's a great point. Hey, first of all, we have to welcome to the panel Tempest's son, who made it on his 2-hour drive. Hopefully, he didn't get any speeding tickets on the way here. Tempest, before I get to your opinion, I have to thank John Mendoza with the outstanding $5 super chat. He says, "Boom! Sony gamers have simply created a narrative that games that don't utilize photorealistic graphics aren't AAA and aren't worthy of hype." And that's a really great point. And our good friend Elemental PO drops a $5 super chat, and he says, "Is it a coincidence Xbox has a game called Everwild? Sony has one in production called Wild." That is a great question. But Tempest, I want to go to you real quick because we're talking about the rare game that no one is making a big enough deal, in my opinion, about. And it's funny because when Death Stranding was shown off in 1967 before it was released just last month, everyone that had no idea what the game was going to be was like, this is the game of the universe, right? They had no idea what the game was. They had no idea what the gameplay was going to be like, and we know what the gameplay is like. It's an abomination. But with that said, I've seen the chats. I've been in the forums. People are like, well, I don't know why people are getting hype. It's just a rare game. It's cartoons, and no one knows what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, what did you see in the 1:39 trailer? Were you as excited as I am for Rare's new IP?
The only thing I didn't like about it was that it's not out right now. To be honest with you. Like, it looked freaking awesome. I mean, this is Rare, man. I mean, just look at their history. I mean, they're one of the more diverse studios, I think, in existence. And, they've had some realistic looking graphic games. They've had super cartoony games. I mean, you name it, they've probably done it. But this looked amazing. I mean, I'm going to call it as I see it. Do I know what it is? No, I can only speculate and hope it's one thing or the other, but I don't see why you wouldn't be excited about it. I mean, bottom line is people are going to say they're not excited about it just because of the art style. I call bullcrap. There's plenty of ridiculously good games with stylized graphics. I mean, if people can call something like Journey game of the year, for crying out loud, I mean, why couldn't this? I mean, you look at this, and like I said, I think it was last week, it looked like the Zelda team got a new present that was called the Xbox One X.
Yes.
You get to develop this?
Great, I love it.
I mean, that's what it looked like to me. I mean, their art team, their artists are. I mean, what can you? I mean, I'm almost lost for words. It looks so good to me. If it's going to be a good game or not, I don't know. What I hope it is I think the only thing Rare's never tackled is an actual RPG, like a real RPG. I would love to see like an action adventure RPG with statistics, stats, gear, that type of thing. And the main, I don't know if it's even the main character, but the character they showed it had companions with her.
Right.
Now the companions look generic. They look like they were wearing Jedi robes. You know, you couldn't see them, but you know, who's to say that those won't be fully fleshed out characters or another person who would say it's co-op? I mean, could you imagine a Zelda-esque game exploring a huge open world with a buddy? I mean,
Or two?
Like, why would that not be awesome? You know, so I can only speculate what the game's going to be, but I mean, I have faith in Rare. I mean, Rare launched Sea of Thieves, obviously unfinished. I still believe that was at a point in time when Microsoft was kind of trying to put the pieces together. You know, I think most of that game was pretty much developed before, you know, Phil got the go ahead to just start writing blank checks. You know, you just give, you know, these people checks and like they can fill in the numbers for them and they don't care. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that was, you know, that's pretty much when that game was made. And to their credit, just like to the credit of many other developers that have launched kind of bare bones games, and they just kept on expanding upon them, making them better and better. I haven't played it in a little bit, but I've heard people say all the time that Sea of Thieves isn't the same game, and that they just keep on making it bigger and bigger and bigger. So give these people a little bit of time with the funding they probably finally have. And I mean, come on, dude. They made Perfect Dark, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Banjo-Kazooie. I mean, this is Rare we're talking about. So, I mean, if you're a gamer, if you wave the green flag or the blue flag, who gives a crap? It's Rare. They've made some killer games. They used to be more of a Nintendo company, but, you know, who cares at the end of the day? This company, they know what they're doing. So I'm very excited for it.
You know, that's a great point. You know, it doesn't really matter what flag you fly, right? It doesn't matter whether you're a Sony guy that plays most of your games on that, or guy or gal and has an Xbox and plays only their first party, or vice versa. But again, that's a great point. This is Rare. This is a new IP. This is something that people have been complaining about this entire generation. There are not enough new games. There are not enough original IPs. Here is an original IP that has the potential. Folks, again, we're only speculating on a 1 minute and 39-second trailer, but from what I saw, got me excited, because if I look back to a game of the generation that still excites me when I think about how many hours I sunk into it. I think it was 120 plus hours into Zelda. Yeah. I still get excited for that game, and I beat it twice. And it was cell shaded. It had breakable weapons. You could cook. The open world was really open. Not a lot going on, but we still played it. We still loved it. Right? Yeah. I don't know. Oh, well, first of all, before I get to So Shady, I have to thank Wilmy Hood again. My God, my friend, he drops a $50 super chat. He says some people are never happy. They are miserable and just want to make others the same way. Well, first of all, Wilmy, thank you for being here, dude. Thank you for the ridiculous generosity. I mean, that is just outrageous. And of course, the comment is very true. It's unfortunate that people like to bring others down with them in their misery. But So Shady, I want to go to you, because I don't know what your feeling on this is. You know, we talked about it before. It's Rare, right? They have a storied history. This generation, they've launched only one new IP. It's Sea of Thieves. Now, whether you love it or you like it or you hate it, it's still a new IP. It launched bare bones. They fixed it. People are loving it. They're adding all these different things to it. Now XO comes, and I'm telling you right now, I didn't expect new IPs, especially from Rare, and we got one. The game looks gorgeous. It has an art style very similar to Breath of the Wild, which won high marks across the board. They have Microsoft money. This is something that they're going to be working on. Yes, we don't know if it's an action RPG or it's an adventure game. We don't know. What are your thoughts on the fact that Rare showed off a new IP? And what are your thoughts more specifically on this game?
I thought it looked incredible. Just looked like a lot of fun to explore the world that they've set up. It was beautiful. Obviously, it's using the same type of cel-shaded, cartoony look that, say, Zelda used or Nintendo games in general use. I'm fine with that. I don't know what games everyone else was playing when they were kids or teenagers or everything else. Like, we're only just now kicking this realism door down. My God.
Yeah, Shady, real quick. There was somebody in the chat that said, I think it was Bone Slave. He said, I wanted a graphically intensive new IP. It is graphically intensive. It's just a choice. It's an art style they're deciding to go with, but that ain't going to be playing on no Switch.
No,
I gotta tell you right now.
What cracked me up, of course, is that all this finger pointing is coming from the Sony crowd. Go figure. This is the same guys. I guarantee you don't become a zealot overnight. Who used to? I swear to God, on whatever social media was rocking at the time, to anyone that would listen, I believe it was the PS2, maybe the 3, where Sony brass was just like, this system's so powerful. We're going to have graphics like a Pixar movie, everybody. And guess who was going wild? The Sony fanboys. Yeah, Pixar graphics. We got Pixar graphics over here. We can do Pixar because that's the best. Like, and this, let me just say this. Just because a game might actually be appealing visually to youth, let's call them kids, as well as everyone else on the planet, maybe, doesn't instantly make it for kids. Like, it just doesn't. Family Guy is a totally mature cartoon, but it's a cartoon. So I don't know about this whole it's a cartoon game. I mean, it's coming from Rare. This is like getting mad at Marvel for releasing a superhero movie. Another superhero movie, Marvel. What are you doing? What are you doing? I mean, this is Rare. It's all they have ever done. Ever. Nothing else. And people like to pretend that Rare has been like put on the back burner forever and they've done nothing and released nothing. Their biggest game ever, I believe, was Viva Pinata on the Xbox 360. Just because it wasn't for the angsty teens of the world that needed to play Call of Duty and Gears of War, it doesn't mean that it didn't sell millions and millions of copies. Went on to get 1, maybe even 2 sequels, had cartoons on TV, merchandise for sale. You know, the way you make true money in the world. That's Disney. Like, Rare has been putting out some big games since their conception. They've had a few misses, like every single studio in existence. And I think that this game has a lot of potential. Like you said, we have no idea what it is. Is it a single player Zelda-esque? And those other characters we saw are just maybe companions? Is it a cooperative game along the lines of maybe a Sea of Thieves on land? Is there an exploration? We just don't know. All I know is that it looks beautiful. There's no way it's launching next year. So that not only did we get a new IP, but we got to see in-game engine running on another Scarlet game. So that's 2 now, Halo and this. That's nice. I'll take that. I thought it was a lot of fun. Like, I really did. I can't wait to get in there and see these weird little mutant animals. You know, that was like a rat pig, man. And that cat had like a cool like predator mouth and stuff. It's out there, that deer with his unfolding antlers, man. Like, you know, everyone loves to know, or they don't love to know, they do know that I love the green, man. I partake in the delicious up here in Canada. And this game is going to go along nicely with that, let me tell you. It's nice. Everything doesn't need to be real looking. I live in the real world. My entire life, every time I open my eyes, the graphics are real. It's just beautiful. So every now and then I like a game that is just far out artistic, offers something different and new. Like, there's nothing wrong with that here. We know Halo is coming. We know that we're going to get a beyond next level, damn near photorealistic Forza. We know that the initiative is hiring top tier talent for years now, and they've come out and said, we're doing the first ever industry quadruple A game. Whatever the hell that means. I'm going to assume it's going to blow your eyes just out of their socket. They're not going back in. You're going to go blind. You're going to see the game. Oh my God, that's what realism looks like.
My God, my eyes.
Like, real graphics don't make the game. It's for some people, that's for fun. They need it. That's fine. I've got probably my inner child up, man. I still watch Transformers movie at least once a year. I absolutely adore it. I'll put on some stuff. Nostalgia is a hell of a drug, man. It doesn't have to be realistic and visceral and gory. And people who've listened to me talk since I've been in this community know I love my gore and my violence, man. But it doesn't all have to be like that. I can still have just as much fun playing Mario Brothers or Mario Odyssey there as I am playing, you know, the new photorealistic Star Wars game or something gritty like the next Doom that's coming out in March. I'm just a gamer. I want to play games, and I don't want them all to just be cookie cutter. There's one thing with this new Star Wars game. People are loving it, yourself included, Boom. Man, you got some amazing things to say about that game.
Oh, yeah.
But in general, it's been very well received. People are liking it. But the one thing that I read more than almost anything else is like, it's just like Uncharted and Sekiro, and it's also just like I'm tired of hearing that. I'm tired of hearing it's just like when it comes to every game that comes out. I would like to hear a game come out and be like, you know what? This game is just like itself because it's something new. And this looks like it could be something new. I'm down.
Yeah, and that's a really great point.
And then when you said that people are sleeping, I was going to say, I tweeted out, most of my tweets, they'll get like 5, 10, a dozen responses or likes. Like, it's nothing crazy. And I tweeted out, hey, look, I've heard a lot of guys say you're not allowed to get excited about this game because you don't know what it is. You don't know what it's about. How dare you get excited? Yet I vividly remember sitting through 3 years of just absolute next level Kojima Death Stranding hype. Trailer after trailer. We saw hours of footage before that game came out. Hours. And there was still people. It's more than a delivery simulator. You're doing way more. It's not that. It's more. It's more. It's more. They wouldn't accept it. The game was in people's hands. And they still wouldn't accept it. No, these are all a bunch of people. They're just lying. They don't know what they're doing. They're not smart enough. Blah, 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 blah. Like, they did everything in their power to make it look like this game was going to be more than it was, or they knew exactly that it was going to be just a walking simulator from day one, and they were totally fine with bullshit. Bullshit. They blindly loved that game because the graphics looked interesting to them and they liked the creator. Hey, Rare has a hell of a legacy as well. They were responsible for some of the greatest moments in my childhood and early teens. And they drop bangers, man, when they're given the proper funding and have the right people. I believe that they do. This looks great. And everyone can get excited about it, man. That tweet had like 270 likes and 24 or something retweets. And for me, that's huge. That is huge. And that tells me that as much as everyone's not out there screaming at the top of their lungs that they're excited for it, there's only so much to get excited for. The graphics and that it's new. That's really it. We don't know what it is. But, man, I think people do care. It's just, as an Xbox fan, it's hard to be loud and proud excited about anything because there's just so many zealot Sony dudes that just ruin your feed, man. They ruin it. They make it stressful. They can't let you have a good time. I'm tired of it. Like I am. I've unfollowed so many people over the last couple of weeks because my Twitter feed is out of control with just fanboyism left and right. I'm tired of it. I just want to see what games you enjoy and why. If it's not on the system of my preference, I don't care. Just stop making it sound like if you're not doing what you're doing it wrong. I'm sick of that shit, man. But people are excited for this game. I know they are. Well, so there's that.
Well, I'm glad. Well, first of all, great statement as always, dude. No doubt about that. Cybernox, I want to get your final opinion on this. You know, obviously, everyone around the panel and people in the chat seem to be really excited about this game. I want to see more stories about it. I want Rare to do more interviews about it. I want to learn more about the game. But first of all, there's 2 questions I want to ask you. Number one, were you surprised at XO19 that we got a new IP from Rare? But more importantly, what are your thoughts on what they showed off?
I was a bit surprised. I wasn't sure what I was expecting from Rare, but it was a good surprise. This is sending out Breath of the Wild vibes like throughout the whole trailer. The graphic, the art style, everything. I'm even more surprised how people can bash on this game by the trailer. Like, what did they see that I didn't see that they can talk down on it? Like, I don't understand that logic. You know, it's a 1:39 trailer, and you can tell what the whole game is already by what you saw. Like, I don't understand. You know, this game looks like it's going to be, you know, open world. It might be co-op. We just don't know. All we literally have about this game that we know about this game is on the trailer, and the trailer does look good. What else was I gonna say? And if art styles was a factor in all these games, Breath of the Wild wouldn't have won Game of the Year.
Exactly.
You know, a lot of people probably, if we were looking just for realistic graphics, how many people will be playing Borderlands? You know, like,
because you're talking about that look, I want to say one more thing. I totally apologize for jumping in.
No, go ahead.
I think that's the reason that this whole show had this look is like we're about 2, almost 3 years out from Fortnite doing what it did, from Overwatch doing what it did, from League of Legends still to this day being the most watched game on Twitch. almost all the time. Like, these are the biggest, most played games in the world. Minecraft is another cartoony looking game, like because they appeal to way more people than just guts hanging out, gritty realism.
That's 10% of each audience.
That's right. That's niche.
Exactly.
That gritty realism is niche. Whereas something that looks like this and is approachable, or some young kid doesn't have his mom instantly screaming at him to turn it off when she walks in the room because the second she sees it, it's not an affront to her eyes. I think that's just the only reason it happened. Was we're a couple years out from those games setting the tone of what is honestly truly popular and transcends just these small niches that still, hey, 10 million is a big niche, but it's a niche. Whereas these other games, they do better, and they seem to have a lot of longevity, and the graphics age much, much better. What's considered real good looking graphics today looks like ass in 2 or 3 years. Whereas Mario Odyssey or Breath of the Wild or this new game, they're going to look fantastic 10 years from now because of the look that they are.
Or if you play Ori right now, it still looks phenomenal.
Exactly.
That's a really great point.
It's not that they're pushing children's games. I think the industry is always monkey see, monkey do, and it takes a couple of years to watch someone else knock it out of the park like Fortnite and go, oh my God, we got to build something and make that look. It's going to take 2 years. And here we are that far away. And a lot of companies are going to be putting out games with a similar look because they do look good. They appeal to a lot of people, and other games have proven that it works.
Oh yeah. And then I think one thing here that everybody listening to this in the chat, in the panel, I think gameplay trumps graphics and anything else.
Absolutely.
In any game, you can deal with a game that has, okay, cartoony graphics, art style that you don't like, but it has phenomenal gameplay. A game can look as good as it wants to look, but if the gameplay is not there, if it sucks, you're not playing it. So I don't understand this game here. I can't wait to see more. Like, there's not really much we can tell by this trailer, but if you're a fan of Breath of the Wild, you might be a fan of this on the art style alone. And Rare, I mean, come on, you got to trust them. They put out phenomenal games, and here they are doing something new, a new IP, and something that we've been asking for, and you just got to trust them.
No, that's a great point. And obviously, this has been an amazing show. We're 5 minutes away from a solid 2 hours. A lot of big opinions. We had Tim Dog here, so let's get into the outro so we get everybody home and before it gets too late. First of all, I want to thank the entire chat. I mean, you guys and gals were as awesome as always. We had 1 or 2 knuckleheads that, of course, I think Shady took care of them. We bounced one banana head who just wanted to be a real a-hole. And listen, that happens, but obviously, I have to protect my chat. And if you're gonna be that guy or gal and you're gonna come and you start cursing, you're gonna start poking fun, I gotta bounce you. I'm sorry. The family. I consider the chat an extension of my family, and I have to protect them. And obviously, that's why I have a lot of modders that don't take any shit either. But Tim Dog, Tim is here. He just jumped out and then jumped back in. He's actually on his phone. Tim, are you there, brother? Tim.
Yes. I'm so sorry, guys. A lot of technical difficulties on my end. I came from Washington Jets game, and I just wanted to say the panel's great. Really, really great stuff tonight. Just apologize for the technical difficulties. I had to do it from my phone and doing it from this app. If I had known I wouldn't get home, I would have brought the laptop. So thanks for trucking along and dealing with my technical in and outs. But overall, great show. Boom, you do a great job. Chat, awesome. Some really great stuff. Setting everything kind of straight. I think there's a lot of bullshit going on, and shows like these are needed because they kind of combat the bullshit, and they really put the shine a light on the bullshit, and you look at it and you see who the real gamers are. And just wanted to say thank you to the panel, and again appreciate you all putting up with my my stressful phone connection.
Well, we definitely appreciate you being here, and obviously you taking the time to be here is really is a great thing, and obviously you'll be back, no doubt about that. But I want to go before I get to the rest of the outros. I have to thank Restored Hades with the outstanding $5 super chat. He says it's not a bad thing for a video game to look like a video game. Games like Ori, Cuphead, and Okami prove that a game can look artistic and be great. And that's a really amazing point, dude. Thank you so much for not only the super chat for being here, but for dropping a really hashtag facts comment. But you know, I want to go to Forte Gaming. Forte, first of all, you do great work in this community. All the shows that you're on each and every week, really, you bring your A game, but more importantly, your interaction with the community is unlike anyone else. Do me a favor, tell everyone where they can reach out to you on Twitter, but more importantly, check out your YouTube channel.
Yeah, man. As always, thanks again, Tim Dog, for stopping by, man. Trust me, I know what technical difficulty looks like for straight, so I know that's like. So it'll be fine. But great show as always. It's Gaming Forte on YouTube and Twitter. So check out that stuff if you want. And the biggest thing is, man, games are just games, guys. You know, when it comes, we all know we do these shows because we want to inform you guys of the things that we're thinking about and what Microsoft is doing and the things that we like that they're doing. And it's a lot of negative energy out there around just Microsoft and the whole, just how this whole generation went. Trust me, next generation, even if Microsoft doesn't win next generation, which is probably not going to happen because PlayStation is just that big of a brand worldwide, just be proud of being an Xbox fan and be proud of the things they're giving you, because nobody has made anything like like Game Pass ever before, and Microsoft's brought that to you. And remember, this is a copycat league. Sooner or later, everyone else is going to follow. And you can definitely say for sure that you were on the ground floor with a company that made change happen. And that's what Microsoft is trying to do with all these initiatives. So food for thought. And it was another great show as always. Boom.
Well, thanks for being here as always. And So Shady was very testy, and I liked his opinion on things. He gives it to you raw and gives it to you strong. So Shady, do me a favor, tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter so then that you can eventually block them if they're a-holes. And more importantly, what other shows that you're on?
Not a problem, Boom. I like to get passionate, we'll say. We'll leave it at that. You know what I mean? Every Monday, I'm here on Primetime Gaming, and then Friday mornings, Breakfast with Boom, man. I've been doing your two shows for a while now. I love it. Wicked community getting developed over here. Lots of good stuff. I did have to put someone in chat in a timeout today, only because all they have to say is Xbox sucks. Xbox is trash. Xbox sucks. That's it. If that's not constructive, that's not adding to anything. That's just inciting garbage. So you got to go if that's it. You could feel free to say what you enjoy, what your favorite game is. You love God of War. You love Nintendo game. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be on point Xbox. Just
you don't have to be a jerk.
That's right. Add to the chat. He wasn't even necessarily being a jerk. It's just, if you're going to come in and just blanket statement, just Xbox sucks, Game Pass sucks, this sucks, that's go away. That's not helping anything. That's not adding to anything. It's just unneeded noise. If you're going to use the chat, add to the conversation. Feel free to share your thoughts, but that's not a thought. That's just, you literally you clicked on the button. You came in here to troll everyone else, and we got no patience for that over here on this side of things, man. So he had to go. But everyone else has been great today. Shout out to all the agents at the Sesh Empire that came out this week to listen. That's where you can find me on Twitter at the Sesh Empire. That is one word. And by the way, everybody, it's an empire. You're in it, whether you want to be or not. Stop being just some Joe Blow civilian. Stand up, get recognized, hit that follow button, start interacting. I'll interact with you. I'll follow you back. I have a good time on Twitter more often than not. Every now and then I'm crushing a troll or two, but generally I'm just there to spread my enjoyment of gaming and entertainment in general with the rest of the world who's willing to listen on social media. So give me a follow there on Xbox. I am So Shady. Thank you everyone for coming out. Happy gaming.
Well, thanks for being here as always, dude. And of course, I love the passion that you bring to each show. But more importantly, the fact that you're a diehard gamer and you like talking about games is, of course, important. Cybernox, the Caped Crusader of the crew, want to thank you so much for being here as always. Obviously, you bring a tremendous amount of knowledge and passion, just like everybody on this panel, to each and every show. Do me a favor, tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter, but more importantly, check out your other works on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely, Boom. Thanks for that. It's always a pleasure being here. I love starting the week talking games with you guys. Tim Dog, as always a pleasure. Tempest, glad you made it. Forte, Shady, of course, you, Boom. Always a pleasure. Chat, you guys are always awesome. Find me on Twitter. That's where I'm most active. Cybernox there. On YouTube, you can look at my channel at Cybernox. And I also have channel now that dedicated everything to Xbox Game Pass. It's called Xbox Game Pass Club. If you want to discover new games, play different games, and anything like that, we pick games at random. We'll try those games out and see how that works out. And other than that, can't wait to get here next week and keep talking games with you guys. It was
Hey,
awesome tonight.
what day do you pick games on?
You know what? We have I started it last week, but I had some technical difficulties when I was streaming and the footage didn't save, so I'm gonna start it again. Usually I'll pick either on a Friday or a Saturday. That way you have a little bit of the weekend and like
Okay.
the week to play, depending on the size of the game. You know what I mean? You can either take a week to beat the game. If it's a long game, maybe I'll take the whole month, you know. So I just want to do something community based where we'll play games similar like a book club. You know, we'll play a game, we'll discuss it, see
a
what we
really good
liked, see what we
idea.
didn't like, things like that. If it's a long game, we can play certain chapters, even up to a point, and then discuss it as a community, what we think of the game so far, what we think of the story, the gameplay, everything, anything and everything. You know, I just think it's a really good idea. Like I mentioned to here before, we play so many of the same genres, same games, you know, and that's how we get games fatigue, you know. Some of us just enjoy the games that we're enjoying. There's nothing wrong with that. I want to branch off a little bit. I want to play these, you know, very unique games that I probably have never played. And Game Pass, just on their catalog, their library alone, will allow me to do that, and everybody else to do that as well. So
Well, listen, what you're
yeah.
doing is excellent. It's unique, it's different, and I hope that you continue to bring in some big numbers from it because obviously Game Pass has a lot of stuff to offer, and some people miss it. Some people don't, go through all 200 games or
Yeah.
have the time to do that. That's why stuff like that is super important. So thank you for that. And of course, last but certainly not least, who drove 271 miles an hour to make sure he was here for at least the last half hour. Tempest, son, first of all, thanks for being here, dude. Glad
Yeah.
that we got your opinion on the rare title because I know that you had a lot to say
Oh
on
yeah.
MyP. Tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter, but more importantly, if they want to team up with you, because you're either going to snipe them or snuff them out playing multiplayer, go ahead and do that.
Yeah, you can find me at the Tempest Sun on Twitter, and Tempest Sun is my gamer tag. And wow, I tell you what, variety is the spice of life.
It certainly is.
Thank you, Game Pass.
Oh yeah.
I don't have a life anymore since Age of Empires 2 came out. You know, it's been forever since I played an RTS like that, man. But I tell
I
you
heard
what,
you and your wife are addicted, man.
oh, dude, we played one match the other night. I hate to admit this, but it took 6 hours. We played it.
Wow.
And it was so much freaking fun. I can't even. I don't know what to say. Just the fact that I played this game years ago, but it's so good, and just playing it again. And I didn't pay. I mean, I pay for Game Pass, yeah, but it just came out and it's rocking my world. And there's a fourth one coming out, and I just get out there and play some games, man. And there's a lot of them on a little service called Game Pass. Just get creative and try things. It's really fun. Gaming's good stuff. So
yeah, no, it certainly is. And real quick before I get everybody out of here, I want to say once again, thank you for the super chats, the donations, the generosity of ridiculous. So thank you so much for that. I have to thank the chat once again. You guys keep it 100 each and every show, and I do truly appreciate you showing up for all the shows. And I have to thank my panel because there would not be a show if I didn't have you guys coming to hang out each and every Monday. So I want to wish everyone a good evening. Enjoy the rest of it. Play whatever game you're playing. I'm playing the heck out of Star Wars, which I cannot get enough of. I don't think I'm probably about 80% done with the game. And I just got the dual lightsaber, and my God, it is amazing. I'm just cutting things left and right. Like I said, I've been posting stuff on Twitter, like different clips. It is really, really that good of a game, and it does borrow a lot from all the best games you could possibly imagine. So anyway, have a great evening, enjoy gaming, treat others how you want to be treated, and guess what, folks? It doesn't cost anything to be nice. Have a great evening, and we'll see you next Monday evening on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming. Take care, everyone.
See you.
Peace.